After a historic 2024 Indiana Fever season that culminated in a return to the playoffs, excitement is greater than ever for the Fever's 2025 campaign. While next season is still 5 months away, the WNBA gave Fever fans an early present on Monday when the league dropped the full 44-game schedule for the upcoming season. The Fever turned heads across the country last season with their play on the court, with number 1 pick Caitlin Clark setting numerous records on her way to winning Rookie of the Year honors and joining teammates Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell as All-Stars. With Indiana basketball legend Stephanie White returning home to take over the reins as Fever head coach this season, the Fever have aspirations of hanging more banners in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from the schedule, and we start with a change in the number of games that will be played, which was increased from 40 to 44 games. The Fever will open up 2025 at home with a highly anticipated matchup. Indiana will host the Chicago Sky on Saturday, May 17th for a 1 o'clock matinee that's sure to get marquee billing. The Fever and Sky had the league's 2 most compelling rookies last season, Caitlin Clark and Chicago forward Angel Reese. Indiana won 3 of the 4 meetings between the 2 teams last year, and with the 2 franchises separated by just a few hours' drive, it feels like a natural rivalry that could continue for years to come. And the 2 teams will see plenty of each other this year. Chicago's the only team that Indiana will face 5 times in the regular season. The Sky will make 3 visits to Gainbridge Fieldhouse, returning to Indianapolis on Saturday, August 9th, and Friday, September 5th. In fact, all 5 of the Fever Sky games will take place on the weekend, with Indiana set to visit Chicago on June 7th and July 26th. The Fever had a historically difficult schedule to open the 2024 season. Indiana played 11 games over their first 20 days, including 2 back-to-back sets and a 3-game West Coast trip. Over that stretch, they played eventual WNBA champion New York 3 times, had 2 games against eventual conference finalist Connecticut, and 1 game against 2022 and 2023 WNBA champ Las Vegas. The Young Fever started the season 2-9, but rallied to finish the year 20-20 and secured a playoff berth. This season, a much more reasonable start. The Fever's first 11 games are spaced out over a full month with no back-to-backs. Travel will also be lighter for the first month, as just 4 of Indiana's first 11 games are on the road, and all of those trips are to Eastern Conference cities. For the first time since 2008, the WNBA will welcome in a new franchise. The Golden State Valkyries will officially begin play in 2025 as the league's 13th franchise. While we don't know yet what players will represent Golden State next season, it's no question the growth of the WNBA is a big storyline for the league. The Fever will visit Golden State for the first time on June 19th and return to the Bay Area for a second time on August 31st. The Valkyries will make just 1 trip to Gainbridge Fieldhouse this season. They visit Indiana on July 9th. The Fever have yet to contend for a Commissioner's Cup, but that could change this year. The league instituted changes to the Commissioner's Cup format last season, designed to make the competition easier for fans to follow. All games are played over a 2-week period in June and will count toward the Commissioner's Cup standings, with each team playing 1 game against each of its conference foes. This year, the Fever's 5 games between June 3rd and June 17th will be Commissioner's Cup games, and the Fever get a favorable draw. 3 of their 5 Commissioner's Cup games are at home, including matchups against the top 2 teams in the East from last season, the Liberty and the Sun. Indiana opens Commissioner's Cup play against Washington on June 3rd, then visits Chicago 4 days later, and Atlanta on June 10th. The Fever then hosts New York on June 14th, and then hosts Connecticut 3 days after that. The 2 teams from each conference with the best record in Commissioner's Cup play will face off in a championship game later in the season, where they will compete for a prize pool and the Commissioner's Cup trophy. This year, it should be an early test to see how a Fever team with aspirations of a deep playoff run stacks up against their competition. Indianapolis will once again be the center of the basketball universe this July, when Gainbridge Fieldhouse hosts WNBA All-Star 2025. It will be the first time that the Circle City has hosted the WNBA's signature weekend. The 21st All-Star Game in WNBA history will be held on Saturday, July 19th, with a three-point and skills competition the day before. It'll be the second All-Star Weekend the city has hosted in a 16-month span. Indianapolis also hosted NBA All-Star 2024 in February. The Fever figure to have plenty of representation over the course of the weekend. Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell were both named All-Stars each of the past 2 seasons, and of course, Caitlin Clark joined them last year as a rookie. The Fever's 2025 schedule skews more home-heavy in the first half of the year. Indiana will host 13 of its first 21 regular season games, culminating in a 5-game homestand from July 3rd to July 13th. That also means that 14 of the Fever's final 23 will be on the road, including 5 of their final 8 matchups. Indiana has 3 road trips of 3 games or more on the schedule, all of which involve travel out west. They'll head to Golden State, Las Vegas, and Seattle in mid-June. They have stops in Dallas, Seattle, Los Angeles, and Phoenix in early August, and travel to Los Angeles, Golden State, and Phoenix late August and into early September. Aside from their 5-game homestand in July, the Fever have just one other homestand of longer than 2 games. That's a 3-game homestand where they will host Chicago on August 9th, Dallas on August 12th, and Washington on August 15th. Though the Fever will spend more time on the road in the final weeks of the regular season, Indiana will play their last regular season game at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The Fever are set to host the Minnesota Lynx on Tuesday, September 9th for Fan Appreciation Night. If all goes right, it'll be one last tune-up before a deep playoff run. Catch all the excitement of the 2025 Indiana Fever in person. Visit feverbasketball.com/tickets.